Yeah, man, I thought some great work today. Guys had to kind of push through the environment just a little bit. It's hot out here. But nobody's going to care come next season. Nobody called and asked anybody where we wanted to play, when we wanted to play, what type of temperature we wanted it to be. They tell us where to play, so we got to be ready to play in whatever type of environment that we're asked to play in. So I thought it was good that the guys, were able to kind of push through it today, and we're getting some good work done.
Yeah, you saw a jump in production last year, like Carl Granderson from the previous year. What additional improvements are you seeing this year?
Yeah, look, I think one of the players asked me today, like, what's the next step for me, and I think I don't think we need to focus so much on what's the next step. It's just continuing through the process, and if you continue through the process and do the things that we're asking you to do, just by the nature of that work, you're gonna improve. And so I think really for Carl, it's just keep coming out here and keep working on your craft and keep doing all the things that allowed you to have a jump in production. It was because of the way you worked. It was because of the way you practiced. It was because of the way you met. And I think that's where the focus is. And I think if he does that through experience, naturally he's going to get better.
Dennis, what do you like out of Willie Gay Jr. so far?
Look, I think the number one thing that stands out, there's two things really that stand out. His enthusiasm and his energy, all right, that stands out to me, and his speed stands out to me. So I think those are two characteristics that we're going to lean on. Obviously, coming into a new system, he's still learning what he's going to be asked to do, and so there's a little bit of a learning curve with that. But the guy comes in and works his tail off every single day, and has a great attitude about playing the game of football. I'm excited about watching him grow and watching him improve.
What's the most exciting part about seeing him line up next to Demario?
Two big, fast linebackers. Look, I think, kind of where we're at right now with our, base personnel, having him and Pete and Demario, all three out on the field together. I think that's pretty athletic group. I think it's a pretty good size group, and I think there's some experience and intelligence that goes with that group.
Coach, with Demario, you've been around this game a long time. He hasn't missed one game in the 6 years he's been with the Saints. Linebacker's a brutal position. What does it say about him that, he keeps fighting through all this and he just keeps rolling?
Yeah, look, I thought last year he was going to miss a game, to be honest with you. I didn't think there was any way he'd make the Jacksonville game, and I think a lot of it is, mindset, and two, I think, is professionalism. I think the way that he takes care of himself, the way he takes care of his body, the way he trains, and the way he prepares, I think allows him, along with some God-given gifts, allows him to be, durable.
Hey, Dennis, there's a report that came out this morning about the Players Association trying to get OTAs and stuff moved closer to the actual start of training camp and having more like a ramp up period. You got any thoughts on?
Yeah, look, I don't think they're ever going to really ask me. I think that's going to be something that's going to have to be negotiated with the players' union, and the league. I know this. I know, there's a certain amount of work that has to go into getting yourself ready to play, football games. And so whether that work's done, in the quote-unquote off-season, or whether we push it back, prior to getting to training camp, at the end of the day, we got to get the work done. And so, we'll let that be handled with the league and the Players Association, and whatever they come up with as coaches, that's going to be our job to, adapt and adjust. And if that comes to fruition, then we'll adapt and adjust.
When you look at,
I do want to follow that. What was your sense historically of why football was different from the other major leagues in terms of doing that?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Okay. You know what I mean? I don't really have an opinion on that one way or the other. I do think that the game of football is hard to, it's hard to get yourself ready to play the game. I mean, Bobby, when you guys were playing, training camp was 6, 7, 8 weeks long, and guys used to try to kind of play themselves into shape. I think it's harder to do that now, but So I don't know what the reasonings were for it, but if we change, we change. We'll have to adapt.
Dennis, when you look like last year, you led the NFL in passes defended, and you see out there in practice today a number of passes defended. What do you attribute that to? I know you obviously on the defensive side of the ball, but why have y'all been able to consistently lead the league or be amongst the best pass defenders?
Yeah. Well, look, I think our assistant coaches do a really good job of coaching. I think part of our, fundamental, thought process and how we want to defend is we want to contest every throw. So we don't give up a lot of, easy completions. A lot of what we do, we're trying to match routes within our zones, and so we're trying to stay close to receivers. And if you're close to receivers, then obviously you have an opportunity to have some pass deflections and things of that nature. So I think part of it is the way we coach it. I think it's kind of our style, and then obviously we've got some good players doing it.
Dennis, going back to the linebacker conversation, having all three of Willie, Pete, and Demario, how much will that impact your staying at the base compared to going to the linebackers?
Well, look, here's the reality. We don't necessarily control that, on defense all the time. A lot of what we do is dictated on the personnel that the offense is putting out on the field, and so the more athletic they get and the more fast players they put out on the field, typically we play a matchup type of game. And so, I think we'll have to see as we, go through training camp, we get a little bit better feel for all the things that Willie can actually do, and then we'll evaluate, how we want to deploy our guys based on what the offense is doing.
Are Pascal and Shepard dealing with injuries, or is that they're just not here because of the voluntary thing?
No. Tano tore his Achilles in the offseason, so he's going to be out for a little while, and so he won't be ready for training camp, and then we'll see how long that takes for him to recover. But no, Nathan Shepard's dealing with a family issue.
And then were you asked about Jamal already? Jamal Williams?
He was out here today.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the question.
Oh, sorry. Were you asked about him already? If you were.
No.
Okay. Sorry, I was late. Just when you look at his, he was a 1,000-yard rusher in Detroit. Didn't have the year maybe he wanted last year. What do you kind of think attributed to maybe his individual decline?
Yeah. Look, I think probably we probably didn't do as good a job of utilizing him as maybe we could have, and yet. Look, I think our focus is how do we incorporate him into what we're doing now, and how do we utilize him this year, try to get him involved in the offense, both from a run game perspective and a passing game perspective. I think there's a lot of things that he can do. I think he's a tough downhill, point of attack runner, and I think we got to put him in those situations to let him have success doing that. And so. And look, I think part of it is I think we've got to do a better job, up front. I don't think overall we ran the ball nearly as well as we needed to last year, and so that's an us thing, and we've got to get better at that. And I think that's been a point of emphasis for us.
Piggybacking off of playing better up front, how do you see development going a week later with Tommy and Trevor?
Yeah, look, I think they're both improving. I think. Both of them are still a long way away in terms of where we need to get to. I don't think they're, too dissimilar to a lot of guys on our team right now. I think we've got a lot of work to do. I think we've got, a lot of areas that we can improve in. And, I just think we got to utilize this time that we're out here to try to do the best we can to take advantage of this time and improve our skill set and our game, and then and then we'll get ready for training camp. Yeah, look, I've seen a couple plays, certainly, and now it's about getting it consistent, and I think that's that's kind of where we're at now. Is like, okay, I've seen it a couple of times now. How do we get it more consistent? And that's kind of what we're looking at.
Sorry if this is dumb, but With Chase and Cam both being out because of injuries, how valuable are these reps for a guy like that?
Yeah, I think anytime you're a young player and you get an opportunity to get reps, they're all valuable. And so, yeah, I think that's huge for these guys that, you know, look, it's unfortunate when, you know, there's injuries that happen ahead of you, and yet it's an opportunity for you to step in and you know, get an opportunity for more reps, potentially more playing time, all those types of things. So I think, in particular, the young guys this time of year, I think is valuable.
Dennis, when you look at like the utilization of Taysom Hill and how in the past you said, well, I want him available in December and not like overusing them like come the beginning of the season, whatever. Is there a particular number, different type of offense? And it's not like at the point in the career, it's not like we're trying to save him or anything.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. I don't know that there's a particular number that we have that's like, okay, this is how many plays we want, this is how many touches we want. We're probably looking a little bit more at collisions. You know what I mean? Like, how many points of contact does he have? And, you know, you want to try to minimize those as much as you can and make sure the ones that we're getting are meaningful, you know, plays. And so I think that's really, you know, what we're looking at. And I think, you know, right now in a new system, you know, our guys are kind of figuring out, okay, what can we do with him? How can we utilize him? What are all the different things that we can ask him to do? And look, quite frankly, there's going to be some times where to utilize him the way that we want to utilize him, he's probably going to have to do a little bit of dirty work. And that's just part of the, you know, cost of doing business, I guess. Well, what I want to see from him is more consistency. And that's probably a general theme with most of these young guys. I've seen burst and explosiveness. I've seen, you know, the ability to make people miss. I've seen good vision, one-cut ability, and yet I want to see it more often. I want to see that speed more often. I want to see that intensity more often. And so I think that's where we're at with the young player.
Hey, Dennis, going back to Tano, you think is it too early to say if he'll have a chance to make it back in time for the season?
No, I think he won't be ready for the beginning of the season. No, but I think, you know, I think there's a chance he could be back at some point.
With all the motion on offense, obviously it's something that's being incorporated early. Is it helpful for a defense as you get to work against that every day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been incredibly valuable out here in these practices. We're seeing a lot of stuff. And look, quite frankly, we saw the same plays for so long. You know, you kind of knew exactly what to expect every day that you walked out here to practice. And so not only for the players, but the coaches also, like, we're all having to come out here and really have our thinking cap on because we're seeing a lot of new things. We're seeing a lot of different stuff. And I think that's going to, you know, be very beneficial for us as we, you know, get work on it now into training camp and as we start the regular season.
Dennis, you guys brought in so many receivers, but how much can this pass, like, how much can you get out of a guy maybe like Chris Olave, who still is young and has potential to grow? What would it do for him if he takes?
Well, I think our expectation is that we can get a lot more out of him. You know, I still think we can still be better in the contested catch situation. I still think there's a lot of run after catch situations that we can improve on. You know, just that consistency, play in and play out. I think there's a lot of things that he can improve on, and quite frankly, those are our expectations. Because we feel like he's got a chance to be a really, really good receiver in our league. And so that's the standard that we're going to hold him at. And I think that's the standard that he's going to hold himself accountable to.
One more on Tano. Just could you put his injury in perspective in terms of how you viewed his contributions last season and what you hoped for him this year?
Well, I can say that he's been a valuable part of what we, you know, do defensively. I think there's some versatility in terms of the things that he can do in terms of playing, you know, on the edge or even moving into the interior. So, and you look at a guy that's worked extremely hard like he has. it's unfortunate that happens, but he's on the road to recovery. He's going through the rehab process. He's going to work as hard as he possibly can to get himself ready to get back out there as soon as he can. So when that is, I don't know.
Do you remember when that happened by chance?
It was in an off-season drill and in like a running drill in the indoor.
And then Rashid Shaheed, did you already answer? Was he voluntary?
He's got an illness. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.